So we got the draft guru from AFL.com, Cal Twomey, in the studio.
We
Days.
certainly do. A night where the hopes and dreams of all 18-year-olds and one 50-year-old may either be made and or broken. But Cal, you are across all of this. Hello and welcome, firstly. And what the hell are West Coast doing with pick one?
Oh, well, why don't we start with the 50-year-old?
Yeah. How did that happen, Cal?
So nominations have been open for a few weeks after the trade period, and they closed on Monday. 873 players nominated from around the country. One of them was Phil Brown from the Williamstown Super Rules competition, who was aged 1973 was his date of birth that he put into the system, and he's been put through. So we wait and see if anyone comes through.
How does that happen?
Yeah, was it a mistake by someone at the AFL, or how does that happen?
No, it's open to applications, and the AFL's not across every club that's interested in every single player either. So
could I put myself in the draft?
Not sure. The women's draft is coming up.
Yeah, all right. Well, you could.
I could, yeah.
You could play again.
There might be some rules around retire. It's the funny part. Any 50-year-old can put their name in, but recently retired players, and you're still in the recently retired basket, Daisy.
I appreciate it.
There's some rules around that, so you might have some other avenues to get in.
Well, if there are any scouts, head down to Faulkner Park tonight, where I'll be doing my best work in the AFL Sevens.
But West Coast.
West Coast, it's got a lot of intrigue. So they have pick one. Harley Reid, the highly touted youngster who's meant to be the next Dusty Martin, absolute superstar. But do they go that route, or are they looking to break it up and trying to pinch something from North?
I think Harley, it's in the box seat to take Harley now. And it's been the long-running discussion all year, hasn't it? Will they trade it? Will they keep it? Will they split the pick, as you say? But now, a few days out, they've had the trading period to get some offers, which they did. They knocked some back there. They've had more offers since then, which haven't necessarily been knocked back from North Melbourne and Melbourne. They just haven't really turned the head of West Coast enough to say, yeah, that'll do us. So now they can still make the trade on the night once the draft reopens on the night. The deals can go through, but I think the likelihood now is that they keep it. And Harley Reid's been the best player in this pool for 3 years. I'm sure he's sick of hearing about himself, Harley Reid, the amount of talk that he's had about him, but he's been worthy of it.
So this poor kid and all the poor kids and the old 50-year-old, who's me, who's 58, they all sit at home, do they?
No, well, 17 of them will go to the draft on night one.
Yep.
And there's obviously split over 2 nights. So the first night is the first round of the draft, which this year will be about 27 or 28 picks with the bids that are coming in for different players and academy players. Then the next night we'll see the rest of the rounds come through, which is going to be around 30 picks. So total, about 60 picks. About 17 or 18 will be there on the opening night. Then the next night and the rest of the round one night, well, yeah, they'll all be at home on the couch hoping for the best.
Is there any entertainment?
The draft is the entertainment, Bridge.
Sorry, I just wondered if they dancing girls or a band or something.
The drama.
Oh, right, okay.
The drama.
We roll from West Coast into North Melbourne. And I was doing a deep dive last night, spent a lot of time having
like
a
your
look
book.
through. Thank you. It's a bit messy, but with picks 2, 3, 15, 17 and 18, surely this is a club-defining draft for them.
It is, and they've got the hand that's been super for them from the AFL assistance package. They did really well out of that at the start of the trade period. They managed those picks well through that period and brought in some other players, and Zach Fisher and Dylan Stevens. Now, as you say, they've got 5 first-round picks. This can really shape up their future, can't it? And they have been a club that's had a dip at the number 1 pick using some of those selections. In the end, though, pick 2 and 3 are really hot picks. Like, you're not going to go too far wrong in that part of the draft. And after picking Harry Sheasel and George Wardlaw last year, if you can go bang, 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 bang 4 over 2 years, Daisy, go back to your career.
Pick 2 was very good in my draft.
It was a very
What
good
pick were you?
Pick 2.
What am I?
But having 2 top 5 picks in the same year worked out pretty well too.
did.
Were you pick 2?
I was pick 2.
Who was pick 1?
Mark Murphy, father-son.
He wasn't as good as you.
No, and pick 5 was Scott Pendlebury, and I wasn't as good as him. So we move on. Anything else that you can tell us that the fans in the cars listening will want to know?
The one that is the big discussion point heading into next week is Daniel Curtin. So he's a boy from Claremont in WA and 197 centimetres.
How big's that in the old
93
stuff?
kgs
What are we talking there? 6'5", 6'6"?
Yeah.
Pretty close to that. And this week, Hawthorn actually flew him over on Monday to tour their headquarters. Right. So they flew him over for the day, went and met the club, met the coach, toured the headquarters. That's not a definitive yes that they're going to take him next week, but it shows clearly they're interested in him. And where he goes is going to shape the whole top 10 because West Coast could then trade back in later on in the top 10 if he's still available or if he's sliding down the order. North Melbourne, he's been in the mix for as well. Melbourne as well if he gets to pick 6, if he gets a little bit further than the Cats and and Crows and Bombers will try to trade up on the night to try and grab him. So he's the play. He's the one key defender in that sort of top 6 or 7, I think, that's going to be worthy of that. And yeah, he's a really interesting one for me.
So the Hawks are pick 4 in that list and that order. Does he want to play midfield, though? Is this what we're reading?
He idolises Matthew Pavlich
Right.
and sees himself as playing this bit of everywhere role. So a bit of forward, bit of back, bit of midfield as
They'll
well.
knock that out of him, though, won't they? If they don't want him as a...
He'll start as a key back.
Yeah.
And that's what they need as well. If they're going to pick him, they're going to pick him as a key back. Now, they've probably got a decision, the Hawks, where they're weighing up Daniel Curtin. So it's the Curtin call versus the Wizard.
Oh,
Nick,
yes.
Nick Watson. Yep.
We
Oh,
like
not,
this.
not the Wiz.
No,
I thought the
it's-
Wizard made a comeback.
There's a new Wizard. There is a
thank
new
God.
Wizard in town.
And you'll like him to 170 centimetres, little small bugger,
Wow, that's
68
small.
kilos,
Takes
and
hangers.
just got Riz.
He's got Riz. That's my height. That's little for
Yes.
footy.
Yeah,
Wow.
well, he tested number 1 at the combine for Riz. So
Riz, did he?
Yeah,
Wow,
that's his
I'm
go.
all over this Riz business.
Cal Twomey has stuck around because the AFL draft is next Monday, Bridge.
It is indeed. And I find when you go pick, pick, I find it...
So how the draft
No,
works.
I don't... I'm sorry, Cal. I find it so intriguing. And you were sitting here with no notes, which I find, you are all over it. When do you start getting in draft mode, and how big a job is it to...
all year. So we've got a weekly show now that has started in round 1 called Gettable, and that's about the draft and trade space. And we follow the same path that the recruiters do, in a lesser form, but following these kids for a couple of years to see them, all the way through and gather the interest. And the draft we find is becoming bigger and bigger from a wider level as well. The draft is hope, and by
Yeah.
mid-season, 10 teams are pretty much out of the finals race, aren't they? In a lot of years, so it becomes about who we're going to get and is this guy going to help us next year? So that's
And if
that's
you
the fun
follow
of it.
these kids, you must feel a bit passionate about too. When Will Harley Reid, you probably feel it more
Yeah,
than...
well, I've got a lot of stress at the moment because I've got my Phantom draft coming out on Saturday.
Oh.
And that's I know
Yeah.
people are waiting for that, and that always makes me very nervous because it's like the house of cards. You get one wrong, and then the rest of
The
them.
rest falls down.
I've had one horror in 2020 where pick 3 went wrong. Will Phillips went to North Melbourne. I didn't pick that one, and it's fair to say the rest of the top 10 didn't shake out well. I've recovered, but it's all about only as good as your next one, aren't you?
Who's the biggest smoky in this draft?
That's a good question.
Is there anyone that looks
50-year-old from
Phil Brown?
Williams?
not the biggest smoker?
Look, I don't think there's going to be too many surprises inside the first 25, but I do think that we're going to see some surprises after that because it's such an even class, and the clubs do have a varying view about, some players are rated 20 on boards and other ones they wouldn't be drafted at all. And I think that's a little bit different this year because, generally there's maybe a consensus 40 or so, but this year there's just a little bit different, and there's the really good top 10 or 12 that have pushed themselves up another rung, whereas behind that I feel like it's really even. So I think clubs are going to be surprised on the night when a couple of names pump through.
What about any state league players or former AFL players, names that we already know?
Yeah, I don't think there'll be too many former AFL players, but there's a guy from Werribee called Sean Manor who was best on ground in the VFL Grand Final, kicked 6 goals in a losing team from 28 touches, and he's got some interest. He's 26, so he's going to come in and be a player that you want to be ready to go with, and there's no time to waste there. So he's got some interest. Some different clubs have looked at him, Essendon, Fremantle, a few others as well who think that he might be able to come in and play a role straight away. So he's one to take a look at for sure.
If you want some interest in the night, though, Bridge, play a little drinking game, and any time a club says, I can't believe he slipped through to this pick, you have to have yourself a little swig of your wine.
Draft slider?
Draft slider.
Really?
We can't pick 7. We can't believe he wasn't one.
We rated him at 10.
Yeah.
Rated him at top 10.
All those sort of
So
things.
where do we watch it?
On the tally.
And
sorry.
AFL.com.
AFL.com is where we watch it. That's
Yeah,
right.
there's-
I'll be watching you, Cal. Will you be appearing?
I'll be appearing.
Are you
Yep.
in a dinner suit or what's your
Yeah,
get
I
up?
put the suit on for,
Oh,
for
good.
the main
Yeah,
event.
no,
Yeah,
fair enough.
I'm happy with this casual kit.
No, you're looking fabulous.
Your
Got
own
Riz.
main event, though, wasn't related to the draft, we're led to believe.
No, it wasn't. I went up to Sydney yesterday. I'm a big Robbie Williams fan.
How big?
Oh.
The biggest. The biggest in Melbourne,
Are
I'd
you?
say. Yeah.
Really?
How many times have you seen him in concert?
By the end of the next couple of weeks, I think it's pushing 20.
Have you watched his doco?
Of course.
Did you like it?
I did. It was
Okay.
pretty honest. Not too much new for someone who's been following his career closely for 20-odd years. But
Is that nearly stalking by definition?
no, it's,
Nearly.
It's avid fanning.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
avid
Okay.
fanning.
So what happened? Did you see it?
Yeah, we went up to see his press conference yesterday in Sydney. So all year I've been saying on our show, is Robbie Williams going to be gettable? So wanted to take up a T-shirt for him from our Gettable show and,
Yep.
and give it to him potentially if we got a chance. Now, the press conference went ahead, asked a fair few questions about the footy, and obviously he's shown a fair interest in the footy. Didn't get a chance to actually give the T-shirt to him, so we're saying he's partially gettable at this point, marginally gettable.
But could you put him in the draft and then you've got more access to him?
Well, he's 49, so he's younger than Phil Brown.
But you did get a chance to ask him a question. What was it?
I asked him a couple, and one of them was about Carlton's win over Melbourne in the semi-final. He's a big Blues fan.
The game against the Demons was just the most excited I've been watching sport in forever. You know, it did something to me that was just like overwhelming. And I guess it's like being a teen again and going, oh, I'm in. Whatever this is, I want more of this feeling. So, yeah, I loved it.
Now, somewhere,
Sorry, Dave.
I was just going to say, somewhere in that interview, he did say Twomey. It meant so much to
Twomey.
me. Did you get a little bit excited there?
No, he's
Can
good.
we
At me as well. I heard that too, Daisy.
Head snapped around.
Did you fall in love with him when he was in a boy band or when he became Robbie
I
Williams?
was too young for Take That. But I think it was Rock DJ, probably,
Oh,
that
yeah,
Sing When You're
great
Winning
song.
album.
Yeah, great song. Oh, well done you getting to look at him.
Well,
Sorry, and ask him a question.
asked him a few questions. So it was an interesting crowd up there and a bit of fun. But yeah, that was my highlight of my month. The
He's got
draft
2
secondary.
gigs next week at Marvel, is that right? Oh, sorry, at Amy Park.
Amy Park, and as I did say to him, actually, that's the original home of Big Ange, which is
Yes.
obviously now the Big
Right.
Ange. I'm loving Big
Of
Ange
course.
instead at Tottenham. So
Could I ask you a question? What would have happened had Robbie Williams' concerts ended up on draft night? What would have you done? Which one?
that thought was a worry for a little while. Yeah, because I bought the tickets ages ago, and the draft was only booked in about 3 or 4 months ago. So
Yeah.
luckily it panned out. But there's also other states in Australia Bridge, so we could have got around
He
if we
would
had
travel.
to.
So Monday, Tuesday is your grand final next week.
Yes, yeah, but it's
Draft night?
two-day grand final.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, we wish you
it's
all
like
the best.
It's like 2010, mate.
Oh,
Two-day
well, I hope
grand
you
final.
perform as well as I did. All the very best. Thank you
Ah,
very
good luck
much
with
for
the
coming in,
Phantom.
mate.